Maybe you know me from Made in Chelsea, which is a reality show that I started working on about 4 years ago. I was working in the Biscuit Building, which is over in Shoreditch at this digital agency, and on the same floor was this TV production company. And in the kitchen, I started talking to this guy about how great Gossip Girl was and how we should really do something over here on the same sort of level. And we did. We sort of went out one weekend with a handheld camera and filmed around Shoreditch, and it was just quite funny, really, sort of at cafes being sort of gossip and chatting. But a lot of it was business focused, because at the same time as that started, I had my online jewelry boutique, which I now run full time. So a lot of it was business weighted in fashion studios and jewelry studios. Anyway, so we filmed this sort of little teaser thing, and Channel 4 were like, actually, can you film a pilot? So next we started filming a pilot. The cameras sort of got a bit more advanced, and filmed that, and then it was commissioned. And now it's sort of what it is. And I left Made in Chelsea after season 1, because it was sort of a fun experience, but not really what I was about. So that's sort of how Made in Chelsea started.
Whilst Made in Chelsea was going, you were actually also a young entrepreneur, and you've spoken at many different events. Can you tell us a little bit about your jewellery design, Flash Trash,
yes,
right?
My Flash Trash. Well, when I was sort of 9, just turning 10, I set up my first business, which was an online company selling CDs and books. And I remember receiving my first check for a No Doubt CD just before my 10th birthday, and that's when I sort of got this passion to create something and to be able to earn money from my own business. So throughout my whole childhood and teenage years, I was one of those annoying kids who just set up business, the whole time trying to set up different businesses. When I was 16, my Flash Trash came about, which is sort of began out of an amateur import-export business that I was running out of my room. I used to buy things from Hong Kong, where I was living at the time with my parents, and sell them out of my room, and quickly realized that jewelry was doing really well for me. That was one I could make a great margin on, and I needed to get that to a wider market. So I built a website for it and started it as a blog, and it just sort of grew from there and became this sort of company now, where we've just recently been valued at $5 million US. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And we are sort of, continuing to build our way in the jewelry e-commerce stratosphere. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk about quotes and the power of quotes today is because after being part of Made in Chelsea, it led me to have a sort of absurd amount of Twitter followers. And
how many have you got now?
Sort of around the sort of 40,000 mark. And what I noticed was that whenever I did a quote, that was the thing that got retweeted or favorited the most out of anything. And so this led me to come up with my own sort of hashtag, which was Amber Attitudes. And I used to sort of say motivational quotes, people get inspired on Mondays and things like that. And it just led me down the path of thinking, what is the role of quotes? How do they interact with everyone's lives? And how quotes have really become the literature of the Twitter generation. And they're sort of a modern moral, a code to live by.
We've got some up on the screen here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through some of the ones that we can see here?
Yeah, you create your own opportunities. That's very much one of the Amber Attitudes I like to tweet out. And then this is taken from a very, very popular sort of teen Tumblr, which is just full of quotes about daily life. So, I think too much in the shower, or I love Nutella, like just things like it's just taken such a strong grasp on the teen sort of generation 2.0, all over the internet, and this was just another one.
For those that can't see at the back here, it says, "I'm bankrupt without love," which I think is quite a lovely quote.
Yes, it is quite nice. So how do I do next slide?
I think we say next slide, please.
Next slide, please. So I just sort of open the floor to do you have a favourite quote? When you think about your life, is there a quote that inspires you? As we're talking about Margaret Thatcher, you may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. Courage is knowing what not to fear. Intelligence without ambition is a bird without wings. I think quotes allow you to sort of live your life. They encapsulate a philosophy in sort of four words.
I work with a charity called Free the Children, and their ethos is very much about trying to inspire young people to realise that they can make a difference. And I think for young people, it can be very tricky, knowing that there are problems with the environment, that there are social issues that we need to change. And as a young person, trying to figure out how can you make a difference in the world. And I'm always reminded of Gandhi's quote, which I think really solves that question, which is be the change you want to see in the world. Where you can just say, you know, if you're not happy about something, or you're not happy about the way the world is, then change it within yourself, and that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my favourite quote.
Yeah, your contribution.
Do you have a favourite quote?
I do. I love Rome wasn't built in a day. That's you know, when you're running a startup and you're getting into the office every morning, you've got to just keep that in your mind. You keep going. So that's a favourite of mine. Can I have the next slide, please? So I want to start it off on tech. Thing about quotes on the internet is you cannot confirm their validity. Abraham Lincoln. So there's I mean, quotes on the internet. Sort of some little facts down here which I'm covering, but 10% of all pins on Pinterest are quotes. There are over 1,000 Twitter accounts dedicated to quotes of all kinds, mainly motivational. The quote is your Facebook status. Again, this is sort of what I see on many friends' Facebooks all the time. And just even in terms of Google results, there are 700 million results on Google for quotes, whereas there is only 125 million for breathing, or 200,000 for cooking, 200 million. So, I mean, it's obviously taking up a vast amount of our own concerns about how we need advice. So the sort of soul balm in a sentence is one of the responses I got last night on Twitter about what quotes mean to people. And I think that's an incredibly true point. And I think for teenagers as well, who take up sort of the vast majority of accounts on networks like Tumblr or Pinterest or We Heart It, the quotes are an ability for them to align themselves to a meaning or express the sort of emotional feelings they cannot say with words. So yes, next slide, please. Fashion is another element. There are over 25 designers in the last season who used quotes on a garment of some kind. And even just walking here this morning, I saw people wearing T-shirts that sort of said, "I'm a geek," or just anything like the Marcus Lupfer's jumper, "Don't forget to smile," "Live fast because it won't last," "Be happy." I mean, you'll see these in Topshop and in Kenzo, retailers across the spectrum. I've never been a millionaire, but I just know I'd be darling at it. Things like this. I mean, why do we feel the need to, you know, emblazon ourselves with quotes? And especially sort of in an urban environment when you're judged so much on your image, is it a way to start a discourse with strangers? You know, this is my belief, I'm outwardly projecting it to you. Be happy, I'm about being positive. And
it's not just the world of fashion, we also see it in the world of art, don't we?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Tracy Emin has been doing a whole series of works that are based on her kind of neon writing. So she writes a quote in her own handwriting. She then takes that quote to the London neon factory, who then produce a neon of her writing in a particular quote.
Can I have the next slide?
And so yeah, we see it there.
Yeah, and even in Roy Lichtenstein's work or Bruce Norman, there's obviously a sort of even in art, all our art is a narrative, but being able to see it straight away, there's obviously a connection on that front. Sort of frank. Tracy Emin's work, a lot of it is very, very frank, to the point. I woke up wanting to kiss you, but there's a lot of privacy behind that. You know, what did that mean to her? So next slide. So this is a final slide, and I mean, quotes in English or in literature, in legal matters. This is a quote from my English teacher when I was doing English A-level. "Quote as infrequently as possible. You never want your essay to become a series of connected quotations, because that leaves little room for your own ideas." I think this is the final point I wanted to bring up about this, is that how much is a quote a substitute for our own thoughts? Do we feel that we're incapable of or is it arrogant to put your own thought out there without quoting? And I think quotes allow sort of a ready meal of wisdom for you to have, a verbal hug, a modern moral, mental medicine, and a sheesh T-shirt. The end is near. Another quote. So the end is near for my.
Well, my favourite T-shirt says "epic fail" on it. So
yeah, epic fail.
There we go. So Amber,
Yes.
thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
taking the time to talk to us today, and
No
best of luck
problem.
with your business.
Thank you very much.
No problem.